Today's video is going to be so much fun. I am doing a holiday display inspired by one of my favorite Christmas movies, White Christmas. We are going to be doing some topiary trees, swags under the lanterns, a Christmas nativity display, flocked garland, and DIY ornaments. My video today is sponsored by Cricut. Before we get started, I want you all to know that I tried really hard to get my twins to do the iconic Sisters Act performed by Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye. Even trying to bribe them with donuts, could not get them to do it, so I tried. Sadly, we're gonna have to move on to another scene in the movie. And the scene that I'm going to choose is when they're on the train, they're leaving Florida, and they're up having a midnight snack. Well, they're singing the song Snow, and they do a little makeshift background with like a napkin and some little pine trees. Believe it or not, that's my inspiration for the trees that we're going to do today. I don't have a flocked tree, and I'm finding it really hard to commit to flocking it because once it's done, it's permanent. And so I haven't done it in the past, but I really love the look of a flocked tree. So what we're going to do today is we are going to create some flocked pieces that we can add into a tree. I found some garland at Walmart, and then I also got this Santa snow for $2 at the Dollar General. I got a couple of cans of this. And what I did was I took my garland outside and I sprayed it in this Santa snow. I sprayed a pretty thorough coat, and dependent on how thick you put this snow on determines how long you'll need to wait for it to dry. Mine took quite a long time because I put a decent amount on it, close to 2 hours. Once it was dry, I flipped it over and I sprayed the other side, and then I let it dry overnight. Now that our garlands are flocked, we're going to bring out these teardrop swags. I purchased 2 of these at Bell's, and they were $16.99 a piece. Now I have created my own swags in the past. They're super easy to do. Currently they are hanging on the headboard in my master bedroom. So instead of making some more this year, I just purchased these and we're going to embellish them. So the first thing I did was I laid out all of my additional decorations. Then I fluffed up all of the branches. I don't know about you, but I feel like 50% of Christmas decorating is simply fluffing up branches, right? It's so time consuming, but it looks so great after you're done. So once all of my branches were fluffed up, I took my flocked garland and some wire cutters. I cut off between a 6 and 10 inch long segment. Then I took these pieces and intertwined them. I cut several segments from the large garland and interspersed them with the green pine branches, all throughout these 2 teardrop swags. Check out this swag now. What a difference. A little bit of flocking mixed in with the original pine branches gives these swags a wintry feel, and I didn't have to commit to flocking the whole thing. Next, I'm going to add some gold leaves. I had these leaves in my floral stash already. I didn't need any more green in my greenery, so we're going to paint these leaves gold. I took them outside, placed them on some cardboard, and I began spraying them in a gold metallic Rust-Oleum spray paint. I sprayed a thorough coat over the top of the leaves, making sure that I got all of the greenery covered in the paint. Then I let the first coat dry for 30 minutes. When the 30 minutes was up, I flipped the leaves over and I sprayed the back side, again making sure that each part of the leaf was completely covered in the paint, and then I let them dry for 1 hour. I tucked these gold leaves into the pine branches throughout the swag. This touch of gold brings a luxurious feel, and also the metallic sheen is a great contrast against the more matted, mute colors of the pine branches. It's also going to tie in the other gold embellishments, like these gold berries. I took several short stems of these gold berries and interspersed these throughout the swags. Next, I'm going to add in some beautiful ornaments. Do you remember 2 weeks ago when we made the orchid flower arrangement with the pretty cream colored ornaments at the base. I found some coordinating Walmart ornaments in a satin finish that had a silver tonality to them. I also found some large glass Mercury ornaments at Ross. I'm going to use these large ornaments for my tree, and I wanted to coordinate some smaller ornaments for these trees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a gold vinyl decal that I can put on the top of these ornaments. In my Cricut design space, I hit new project, I clicked on images. In the search bar, I typed in branch. Several options came up. I scrolled down and selected this branch and clicked add to canvas. I selected it and hit the size that would fit on my ornament. So once it was sized appropriately, I went over and I hit duplicate 16 times. So I had 2 branches per ornament. When that was done, I hit make it, sorted it onto my mats. I am doing without a mat because I am going to be using a smart vinyl. I clicked continue. Here's where you select your material. I did a smart vinyl permanent. I chose a gold vinyl, and then I hit more on the pressure. I fed my vinyl through my machine. Once it was in, I hit that flashing arrow button, which loaded it and measured it. Then I hit the flashing play button, which began the cutting process. Once it was 100% done cutting, I unloaded my material by hitting the flashing arrow button, and finally I hit finish on the computer. I pressed the vinyl firmly together, and then I got my weeding tool and I pulled away the excess vinyl. Then I got my transfer tape and placed it over the top. I pressed it firmly together with my scraper tool. Next, I cut out each branch individually. Then I removed the backing. When you're putting vinyl on a curved surface, sometimes it can get really tricky, but I have a trick for you. If you cut little slits along the edges of the transfer tape, when you lay it on that curved surface, it will lay flat. So once my vinyl was on my ornament, I pressed the vinyl firmly to the ornament with the scraper tool. Then I removed the transfer tape. I put 2 branches on each ornament. These ornaments coordinate so well with this large ornament that's going to be hanging on my tree. They look so custom and fit in perfectly with my color scheme. To tie all of these ornaments together, I'm now going to add a few to my swags. So, like I mentioned before, my decor today is inspired by White Christmas. Well, I am doing a collaboration today with the Lisas of YouTube. Yes, we all have the name Lisa. And what we're doing is we are picking one of our favorite Christmas movies, and we are going to create some DIYs based on that movie. So as you know, I chose White Christmas. Lisa Kennedy, Dollar Mom, chose The Elf. Lisa from Lisa & Company chose Miracle on 34th Street, and Living My Best Life with Lisa Marie chose The Grinch. I will leave a link to the playlist in my description box and also in my pinned comments, so check out these movie-inspired DIYs. I think that you will get some great inspiration from them. At this point, I needed to hang my swags on my lantern so I could wrap the ribbon around it, and it's just easier to do it this way. So as you can see, I added some ribbon. I love this Merry Christmas ribbon. I added more ornaments, poinsettias, and at the top I created a large bow with some white ribbon and gold and white sparkly ribbon. If you find a piece at the store and you think, hey, that's pretty good, bring it home and add some more elements to it. This will make it feel custom. By doing this, you can coordinate it to fit in with your existing holiday decorations. Coordination is key when you're trying to create a cohesive space. In the final scene of White Christmas, they have the actors that are on stage and they are surrounded by a whole bunch of beautifully decorated Christmas trees. So I'm going to take that scene and I'm going to transfer it into my tabletop and try and get a similar look. So first off, we have to have some trees. Now, we're going to be making a topiary tree out of a garland. You don't always have to have a tree. Sometimes you can just use a garland and wrap it around it. So let me show you how I did it. I took my white antiqued urn with some gold embellishments and I added a large gold trellis to the center. Next, I took a pretty plain garland and I wrapped it in some Christmas lights. I cut some segments of floral wire to attach the garland to the trellis. I wrapped the wire around the top of the trellis and around the end of the garland and twisted it together to secure it to the trellis. I wrapped the garland around the trellis, and every time it made a full circle, I got a piece of that floral wire and I wrapped it around the garland and the trellis to make it stay in place. To add some winter white to our Christmas trees, we're going to cut off a few more of those segments of the flocked garland that we created earlier. I cut off a 6 to 8 inch piece and then I added it to the garland on the trellis. Now, the nice thing about these garland pieces is that they're wired, so you don't have to add any additional wire. All you have to do is twist those branches around the garland. I have some really pretty white satin ribbon, and I'm going to use that and wrap it around my tree. So I started at the top and I made a loop with this ribbon, and again I got a segment of the floral wire, twisted it around the loop, and then twisted it around the garland. I draped the ribbon around the tree and created loops at various places. Next, I took some of this sparkly gold and cream ribbon and I did the same thing. I got a segment of the floral wire, created some loops, and then had it cascade down the tree as well. I took a segment of this Merry Christmas ribbon, and then I took a smaller segment of this thin ribbon. I took a thin ribbon and I wrapped it around the center so you could still see Merry on one side and Christmas on the other, and then tied it to the tree. Like my swags, I added some poinsettias, gold berries, more of those spray painted gold leaves, and additional ornaments. One of the ornaments that I absolutely love are these transparent acetate snowflakes. I made these on my Cricut Maker, and let me show you how. In my Cricut design space, I hit new projects, I clicked on images. In the search bar, I typed in snowflakes. Several options came up. I scrolled down and selected this snowflake and hit add to canvas. Brought it to my design space and I sized it to the size that I needed. Then I wanted 9 of them, so I hit a duplicate so I could get 9 snowflakes, and then I hit make it. It sorted it onto my mat, and I will be doing it on the mat, and I click continue. Now the material I'm using wasn't on the main sheet, so you can browse all the materials. So I hit browse, and in the search bar I typed in foil acetate and my material came up. I selected it and clicked save. I hit more on the pressure. I loaded my acetate sheet into my machine by hitting the flashing arrow button, and then I hit the flashing play button, which began the cutting process. Once my snowflakes were 100% done cutting, I unloaded my material by hitting the flashing arrow button, and now I have my beautiful snowflakes. Finally, I hit finish on the computer. Once the Cricut Maker cut out these little ornaments, all I had to do was pull back the acetate and the ornaments just popped right out. Because there's all these little indentations in it, you don't need a ornament hook. All you have to do is take it and just set it right on a branch and it stays right in place. I love the transparency of these ornaments, and the silver and gold dots make it look like it's snowing. I added my topiary trees to either side of my tabletop, and underneath the topiaries, I have a cotton fuzzy blanket. I folded this blanket into thirds to create a runner, which has a perfect wintry feel. It's going to be a great base to put all of my other pieces, and the light, bright color will make everything else pop. In the back, I have 2 glass trees. They are gold and green, and I placed them on top of a small cake stand to give them some height. In White Christmas, in the final scene, the actors and the dancers were the focal point. On my stage, the focal point is going to be what's important to me, and that is the birth of our Savior. I'm going to divide up my nativity into 3 separate areas. On either side, I took a marble tray and added the larger pieces of my nativity, which were the camels. I topped the camels with a glass cloche and then tied a white ribbon around the glass knob at the top. In the center, I wanted something substantial to put my nativity on, and I didn't have a tray that was large enough. And if you've ever priced out large trays, especially trays that have a mirrored bottom, they can get so expensive. So what I did was I found a wall mirror at Ross, and it was $21.99, and I'm going to repurpose it and use it as a tray. So I put that tray down first. To the center, I added another small cake stand. I added the key figures to the top of this cake stand, and then I covered it in another glass cloche. Surrounding the baby Jesus are all of our supporting characters. We have the wise men, a shepherd, and of course our farm animals. I love the way that this nativity is displayed. It's custom, it's unique. I haven't seen anything like this before. This holiday tabletop decor turned out so much better than I had hoped. I absolutely love the way that it looks. I'm thrilled with the way that each piece turned out, from the embellished teardrop swags to the garland Christmas trees. And then also we have our ornaments. They are custom, and they are definitely one of my favorite pieces about this display. I hope something here inspired you in your Christmas decorating and gave you some ideas to create some unique and special Christmas decor. Don't forget to watch the videos on the playlist. You'll find some more inspiration from those ladies. I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much for watching.